And so I was asked if I could say something about the three granthis. So the word granthi, it means knot, like a knot that you tie in a shoelace. And there's actually a lot of knots in the subtle nervous system. The subtle nervous system is basically normally full of knots. Most people live their life in that way. So there are many minor granthis, and then there are three major granthis. And the three major granthis, the first one is in the pelvic region, the second one is in the heart region, and the third one is in the head. Now these are different to the chakras. The chakras are also multiple, there are also many of them, and we often talk about 7 major chakras and then multiple minor chakras. But the granthis are different. They're really more like blockages. Okay? They're obstructions. And these granthis need to be pierced or loosened or basically removed in some way. And the way they're loosened or pierced or removed is through spiritual practices. As we meditate, they're gradually loosened, gradually pierced. As we practice pranayama, the same thing happens. They're gradually loosened and gradually pierced. Now the experience of the loosening or piercing of these granthis is different for each person. And it will actually depend a lot on the process of inner purification that's going on for that person. If we're purifying the body in quite a gentle way, not forcing anything, taking our time over the whole process, and we're purifying the body in quite a balanced way, purifying the first 6 chakras equally and evenly, purifying the Sushumna Nadi, the central channel, then the piercing of the granthis, the loosening of the granthis, isn't a major deal. It's not a serious event, and it might not even be perceived. Yeah, it might be so subtle that the granthis are simply undone one at a time. The prana moves on upwards in the body to the next knot, to the next center, and we simply don't even notice that a major granthi has been pierced. So that's quite possible, and actually I believe that happens for most people on the spiritual path. If the process is happening a bit faster, or if things are a bit out of balance, then the loosening or piercing of these granthis can be quite a major deal. And if it is a major deal, there's various things that can be experienced. One is a kind of build-up of energy, or an intensity, or a pressure that happens over days, weeks, or even months. We can develop the sensation that something needs to be shifted, something needs to be moved, in whichever part of the body the knot relates to. So for example, we might feel like we've got a blockage in our heart and that just needs to be opened. Everything just needs to flow freely and everything will be fine once it's able to move freely. The same thing can happen with the pelvis, same thing can happen with the head. That there's just something that needs to shift, something needs to be opened, and prana needs to move freely through that region. And it can actually even be painful sometimes if this intensity becomes really strong. The process of the piercing of the granthis can become painful. So my advice is make sure your spiritual practices are gentle. Make sure they're global in that they're purifying the whole body, the whole of the subtle nervous system, And then you'll find that the piercing of these knots happens without any serious kind of repercussions or effects. And so one thing to be aware of, if you do find yourself in a situation where this intensity is happening, this feeling like if you could just open that region, everything will be fine, there can be a temptation to try to increase spiritual practices, to try to get the job done, to try to get the knot undone. And usually that's the wrong way to go about things. It would actually be better to back off, self-pace downwards, approach everything in a more calm and measured way, and just allow it to happen in its own time when it's ready. And it will do. When the time is right, that knot will release, everything will flow freely in that region. So it's generally much more comfortable in the long run, much safer in the long run to actually back away from that temptation to want to push through or open everything as soon as possible. Another thing to be aware of is with the granthi in the head, the same thing can happen, this feeling of intensity, feeling of a build-up of prana, and it can feel as if we could just open the crown chakra, everything would flow up and out and everything would be fine. A bit like taking the cork out of a bottle. But again, that's not the best approach. What can happen if we do that is that the intensity can just continue to increase. The crown chakra is an unstable chakra, and if we open it too soon, a lot of things can get out of hand. So again, the best advice is back off, self-pace your practices downwards, focus on staying grounded, and the knot will clear when the time is right, and it'll clear in a balanced and much less eventful fashion. And by allowing everything to happen gradually when the time is right, we still get all the same benefits from the piercing of the three granthis. We don't miss out on anything. Once all three of these knots have been purified, we're generally in a state where we're experiencing all of the chakras being quite open, quite purified. This isn't enlightenment, but we're definitely moving in that direction.